Hello, guys. Welcome to another Lives Hogs blog, vlog. Rowan Yeoli, welcome back. Atal Baral's on with us again, mate. Yes, we'll get to that question about Jai Richardson here in Australia. Aakash Rajput, Chief Arjar, Yellow Mouse, how are we going? What a final it was. I thought KKR were going to get over the line, especially when they were chasing, but they just blew it. And CSK, well done to them. So let's get right onto it and celebrate MSD's 300th match as captain with a trophy aloft and diagnose yesterday's final. Roll bumper, please, Shubs. Okay, the Chennai Super Kings, easy win by 27 runs. Yes, 27 runs sounds close, but they had the game done and dusted with 3 overs to go. They just lost their game plan a little bit out the end there and just allowed a few easy runs for the likes of Mavi at the end. But they were well in control of the final. Now, let's get into the quick talking points before we get to the questions, please, Shubs. The first one, keeper's nightmare. Both keepers had a bit of a nightmare early on. Kartik missing the stumping of Du Plessis was a big moment in the game, and then Du Plessis went and made that match-winning knock. And then we had MS Dhoni, the legend, dropping Venkatesh Iyer early on, and Venkatesh going on and doing the job as well. Pity Venkatesh got out in that the 10th over. If he just hung around for another 3 or 4 overs, he could have got KKR in a more commanding position, because Gill at the other end just wasn't able to up the tempo and keep the tempo like Iyer was. So Venkatesh Iyer has really come aloft. So both keepers nearly cost their teams the game. But I've got to say, MS Dhoni was a little bit cooler than Morgan when it came to captaincy, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, the next talking point is the 11th hour. What I mean by this is the 11th over, where it was all happening in this game. CSK, who was batting first? CSK, when they were batting first, they were just starting to gain momentum. And in that 11th over, Ferguson got absolutely belted by Faf du Plessis. Should I say Faf du Plessis? I think he hit 17 runs off that particular over. But then we go over to KKR's over, 2 wickets for 5 in that 11th over, and their run rate was well ahead of CSK's at that stage, but then it dropped after that. 2 for 5 in that over, momentum shift, and that's where the game was done and dusted, and that was Thakur who bowled that 11th over. So there we go. That's why I've got the 11th hour. Okay, next talking point there, please, Shubs. Chennai win second wicket partnership. Uthappa and Du Plessis getting that 60-run partnership in that second wicket was the difference in this particular game. Now, if we look at the preview before yesterday when I did that, KKR had a better partnership in that particular area. That's where they were a lot stronger. They weren't able to continue the momentum from the openers today. CSK were. Now, the introduction of Uthappa into this team has changed the dynamic. He has proven he's a little bit better than Raina at this stage. Raina's lost a bit of his game. Uthappa's taken the opportunity, and he was the one that kept the momentum going in that second partnership. I love the way Du Plessis was attacking the quick bowlers. Uthappa hit Varun and Narayan both for 6s in ultimate overs to keep the momentum going. They were huge risks, but risks that had to be taken to keep the momentum going and the pressure back on KKR. And that's another little moment where CSK really took the ascendancy away from KKR. Okay, just with the leadership, as I mentioned there with CSK, with MS Dhoni, he was a lot calmer. He wasn't running up to his bowlers and trying to slow things down and make sure that they were ready with the plan. When you go into a final, you don't want to try and change the momentum of how you do things in lead-up games. You want to make sure your bowlers are still in rhythm, and what that means is when they walk back to their mark, they get to the top of their mark, and they don't take that time out the top of the mark. They're in the same rhythm when they come in and bowl that next ball. Whereas if you saw Morgan at the back end of CSK's innings, he was going over to his bowlers and standing in front of them. Now, when you stand in front of them and slow bowlers down, all of a sudden they sort of push back a little bit, and that little bit of energy just takes it away, and you lose that momentum and you become a little bit negative. And that's where CSK, the leadership of Morgan, could have been a little bit better there. Just backed his bowlers to allow them to go and do their things and stop chopping and changing things too often in those latter stages when they're under pressure, because the longer you think about it, the longer you get the jitters. Now, I've been there, done that, and been belted plenty of times before, just because I changed the way that I tried to bowl my over, slow it down, calm it down, and try and make a few changes. It doesn't work when you don't keep you don't keep the same rhythm as what you do in general play. Now, 5:49, I've done it, and it's all done and dusted with my little talking points. Now I want to get to your questions. It's been such a great tournament. I'm going to put on my glasses now. Rowan Yaoli, how you going? How are you, Hoggy? What do you think of a bowler like Shardul Thakur? For me, I love the way that he got a little bit of tap in the power play over that he bowled yesterday. But one thing that I like is that he just likes to get back into the contest. And yesterday, under pressure, when KKR was still in front of the game when he came on that 10th over, he knew his game plan. He knew what he wanted to do. And he went in there and delivered, and he got 2 vital wickets. So for me, the pressure's not getting to him. He's able to hold his nerve, and that's the sign of someone that could be a longer-term prospect for India in the future. Yes, he's played a couple of games, but is he going to find a role in there, a permanent role in that Indian team in the shorter form? And the way that he performed yesterday was perfect. He can bat a bit as well, which is good. Please make a video updating about all BBL team squads for the upcoming season. Also, today is my birthday. Love from Mumbai. Okay, I will do the BBL teams, but Rowan Yaoli, happy birthday to you. So everyone that's watching now, let's wish Rowan Yaoli a happy birthday, mate. I hope you have a great day, and I hope all is well in Mumbai. Thanks very much for getting on board, and yes, you're a special person, mate, so have a great day. All right, next question, please, Shubs. Okay, Rama Reddy Kavuri, how you going? Hi, Hoggy sir. What may be the playing 11 for India in the ICC T20 World Cup? Well, I think Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are going to open the batting. I think Sky will be coming in at number 3. Pant number 4. I don't know who I would put in at number 5 at the moment, and Pandya, but let's go with the bowling group. I think they're going to go with Jadeja around about 7. Boomerang, Shami will be in there. Bhuvneshwar might play, and they'll go with another spinner. I think they'll go with Varun as that second spinner. That 5 and 6 position at the present moment, I'm a little unsure. I think they'll go with Ishan Kishan in there, but they might go with Ishan Kishan batting out number 6 and try and put a right-hander there out number 5. Just trying to think who I'd put in there. Hardik Pandya is the biggest headache for India going into this tournament because he's an all-rounder. He's not been able to bowl, and you want him up that list to be able to bat and bowl. So that is going to put a big hole there. So number 5 and 6, I'm a little bit unsure, but Ishan Kishan is going to fit in there somewhere along the line. But we'll get back to that when it gets closer to the Indian or to the T20 World Cup. All right, next question, please, Shubs. That's a good question there, Rumour. Avis AS, I had you on yesterday too, mate. Good to see you again. Hi, Hoggy. Do you think Tripathi's injury was a factor for KKR to not finish the match? No, I don't think it was. For me, I think the senior players down that lower order didn't stand up. They've done it in international cricket. They were picked to do that particular role, and they didn't deliver. So for me, Tripathi's done a wonderful job throughout the whole series to keep KKR up there. He's been one of the main instigators in their little fight back to get to the final. But for me, Morgan's form at the end of the day was the catalyst that didn't get them over the line. You just can't have a player filling that role in the middle overs and just captaining the team and not putting any runs on the board for that long to win a big title like this. So for me, it's more the senior players down the lower order. And I'm not blaming Morgan for it. I thought he's captained the team brilliantly. He's just out of touch, and you just can't have that. So Morgan's form was probably more the problem than Tripathi's injury. If Morgan was in form, he would have been able to do that role and fill the void. All right, next question, please, Shubs. Hello, sir. This is Himashu Singh. What do you think about the captaincy difference between MS and Morgan? For me, I just felt Morgan was trying to slow the game down a little bit too much. He was too involved with his bowlers. The bowlers should have known their game plan at that particular stage. He wasn't doing it as much during the normal phase or the first phase of the tournament. But when it came to the finals, as soon as they were starting to come under a little bit more pressure, the more and more he started to do it. And I just think you can't do that as a captain. You've got to sometimes back your bowlers that they've got their game plan under control. It's all right just to do it once in a blue moon, but not just about every ball or every second ball, because it just becomes frustrating as a bowler, because you sort of got in your head that you want to do something, and then all of a sudden you're having this chat, and all of a sudden you've got two different thoughts going through your mind, which puts you off a little bit. Whereas MSD, for me, he's just so calm, collect. Even when he dropped that catch, he was disappointed. When that catch off Gill, off Jadeja, got turned down because it hit the rope, old Cable Guy was in there. If you watch the movie Cable Guy, that's where I got that from. But yeah, he shook his head a little bit, but he got straight into business, made sure everything was calm, and just got back into the fray of things. So for me, I thought MSD captain better than Morgan in yesterday's game. So that's where I sit with that. But that's a very good question there, Himanshu. All right, next question, please, Shubs. Hope you have a good day too, Himanshu. RC, how are you going? What do you think about the mega auction next year? What type of players will the teams be looking for? Is the increased number of teams good for IPL? For me, you have got the auction next year, the mega auction, and they've always wanted to introduce two more teams. I don't know, with the situation around the world right now, whether it's worth having those two extra teams, but they've gone with it. So for me, they might have to play one extra overseas player in each team. For me, the type of players that I'd be looking for would be different for each franchise. Someone like a CSK, as we've seen with Fleming talking about it, and even MS Dhoni talking about it as well, they're looking for a 10-year period where they can keep a core group of players in that group, and that's what they've done over the last 10 years, and that's why they're so successful. Whereas the other teams like to chop and change a little bit as well. So the type of players that I'll be looking for are definitely young Indian players that are around about the 23 to 26 age group, and trying to keep them together as long as possible. And then when I look at my overseas contingent, I'll be chopping and changing with them, considering what's happening on the international calendar and what type of or how much cricket they've played as well. If we've seen it sometimes, especially with the Australians, the naughty Australians, they tend to pull out a lot in various years of IPL, which really puts a dampener on your squad. So I'll be looking at Indian players and probably more so English players, because they seem to have they've seemed to embrace IPL a little bit better and more assured of rocking up than most of the Australian players. So that's where I'd be looking right now. But I'd also be looking at a couple of retired international players like Faf du Plessis and also AB de Villiers to fill the void. But if I was RCB, I wouldn't keep AB de Villiers because his future's a little bit more unsettled than Faf du Plessis. CSK, I might think about keeping them. God, that's a long chat too. I might have to do a vlog on all that. Who will the IPL teams keep for the mega auction next year? Good question there, RC. God, I could ramble on about that all the time. Chetan, how are you going, mate? This is Icon Chetan Patel. How are you going, Icon? Which three players should CSK and KKR retain? For KKR, I'd keep Venkatesh Iyer. I'd also keep Arun with his fabulous bowling. For the third player, I'm just trying to think of all the Indians that I would keep in there. I'd keep Gill out the top of the order as well. I wouldn't want to change that opening partnership. So those three. For CSK, I'd go with Garkewald, Jadeja, MS Dhoni with his leadership. I'd try and keep him, and you might have to try and keep him with his leadership skills, but you wouldn't want to put him in the auction because someone else might pick him up. But if MSD retires or doesn't go on, I'd probably stick with Thakur at the bottom as well with his bowling and batting with that all-round skill. So they're the three players that I'd try and keep. Now, the reason that is I want to keep my Indian contingent in there because they're the core players that you want. And if you've got three quality Indian players in there that have got good personalities as well as good skill, they can embrace the new players that are coming in as well. So embracing overseas players is easy, but making sure your Indian players are happy and working together, that's your core, that's your base, that's the thing that you've got to concentrate on most because you're going to have an influx of different overseas players coming in and out. Good question there, Chenton, the icon. Next question, please, Shubs. Okay, Jared FN, how are you going? Do you think David Warner and Aaron Finch will be the openers for Australia? Look, Jared, I think they will be, but I'm a little bit concerned with Australia going into this T20 World Cup because a lot of them haven't got much cricket under their belt. A lot of them that were in the IPL didn't get enough game time as well. So it's the way that they prepare, the warm-up games that they have before this T20 World Cup are going to be crucial. But I'm worried about both their form, both players' form. I'm also worried about our middle order. We've got Stoinis, who's got a slight injury going into the T20 World Cup as well. I think Mitchell Marsh has to bat number 3 with the way he did it in West Indies and also Bangladesh. And I'd like to see Inglis up the top of the order as well. I think Mitchell Marsh and Inglis have got to come in at 3 and 4 with the likes of Steve Smith coming in at number 5 because those other two players that I've just mentioned have got better strike rates than Steve Smith. So that's the way I'd go with Australia. Still have David Warner and Aaron Finch opening the batting because they've done it so long. But the only thing with Warner, his strike rates, not as good as other opening combinations around the world. And the game has changed. They're more aggressive out the top of the order. And that's another thing that Australia have got to look out going in this T20 World Cup. So there's a few headaches there for the boys in green and gold. Next question, please. Good question there, Jared FN. Valuable distribution. Hoggy News is coming. Rahul Dravid is all set to be the next coach of India after T20 World Cup. News is coming, Rahul Dravid. Would he do that role? He would be perfect for the role. But for me, the way that he's building the next young crop of cricketers within that academy, I think that's one thing that you don't want to lose. If we look with Australia, Australia had a dominant academy going through that period of the early 2000s, late 1990s, and we had a dominant period there. And that was all built around a strong academy program and good coaches and a good head coach out the top of the program. We had Rod Marsh that was respected, hard, and good leadership. But since we haven't had those type of big names in there, it's tended to drop off. So for me, I think Rahul Dravid would still be better in the academy because he's such a good influencer, a good leader, and a good communicator with those younger players. Once you get to the international level, all your skills should be ready. You should be mentally prepared, and that's where Rahul Dravid comes in. He prepares them mentally, skillfully, and physically as well because he knows the demands of all three forms of the game. So that's That's a crucial area that the BCCI have to think of, because once they take Rahul Dravid out of there, who's going to mollycoddle those younger players coming through and making sure that they are ready-made international cricketers? So good question there, valuable distribution. I'm a little bit, I wouldn't take Rahul Dravid out of that space. Deepak Gerard, how you going? Hi, Hoggy. Why Riley Meredith is not in Aussie squad? He is quick and sharp. Simply because they want to go with the big three all the time, and Kane Richardson has done a fantastic job. But the thing with Riley Meredith is we've seen in the IPL as well that he's still got a bit to work on. He had a few opportunities there with Punjab Kings 11 and just wasn't quite up to the mark. So he'll be going away thinking about that. Yes, he did well against Western Australia here yesterday in one-day game, but Western Australia weren't out full strength, and that's another period that you've got to look at as well, the opposition that he's playing out. So he didn't really quite stand up there in the IPL, and basically they're going to be similar conditions that you have at the UAE, and that's why they've gone with Kane Richardson, who's got a bit more experience as well. But Riley Meredith will come back after that IPL experience, better for it. He's a good thinking bowler, and if he's in the auction next year, if I was a franchise, I'd be after him, because he'd be a bowler that would be a bit of a bargain for next year's IPL. Good question there, Deepak. Next question, please, Shubs. Raj Mishra, how are you going? What will Dhoni's future after IPL if he doesn't play next IPL and can be good at mentoring Team India? For me, I think he'll be definitely working with Chennai Super Kings as a mentor, and I think he'll be working for the Indian team as a mentor as well. I don't think he'll be there full time in the Indian environment. He'll be just used sparingly, just to come in and rev the boys up here and there when they're starting a tour or midway through a tour, when it might be a bit tough in those bubble environments, where he could just ignite a new bit of energy. So for me, he'll be perfect for a mentor. And look, he'll be watching from afar as well. His good, calm, collect nature, the way that he talks to people, the way that he interacts. He's just a perfect role model to be able to do that mentoring role. I don't think he will go into a full coaching role, especially early on. I just think he'll stay back and prefer those mentoring roles and not be in the front line. Good question there, Raj. And talking about that, the difference between CSK and many other franchises, and we had KKR there with Kuldeep Yadav saying that there was a bit of communication problems with KKR. But CSK, they with Robbie Utapa coming into that team out the end there, and on an interview last night, Robin was saying that they had good communication with him and the other guys that were sitting on the bench, knowing that they might, if they've got an opportunity to play down the future, this will be their roles in the team, and made sure that they were training for those roles. I don't think the other franchises communicate to the blokes or the players on the bench as well as CSK. And CSK, I know that they go to all lengths to make sure their players are right for the right for IPL cricket. I got a phone call to talk to one of their spinners, just to sort of just have a quick discussion of what to expect at IPL level, and little things that they need to watch when they go through it. So for me, that's why they've been one of the most consistent teams in the IPL, because they're diligent about the way that they communicate and the resources they provide for their players. That's a good question, Raj. So I've sort of gone off in a little bit of a tangent there, because I just wanted to bring up that little point earlier on in the coverage. But thanks for bringing that up, Raj. Next question, please, Shubs. Oh, Raj. Hi, Hoggy. Love, do you think Lord Sadul Thakur should be picked ahead of Hardik Pandya in India's playing 11? Yeah, looking at that, I went through the 11 before. I reckon he could go in at number 7, and Jadeja with his batting could go up to number 6. And then you might have to break those left-handers up by going Sky at number 4, Ishan Kishan out number 3, and then have Jadeja at number 6 with Pant at number 5. So for me, that looks like a more dominant, balanced Indian lineup, because Thakur can bat. You've got your top 6 batsmen that are going to do most of the job. Thakur can come in and do a little bit of hefty lifting or hefty hitting at the end there, and then bowl some of his magic in those periods. And then you've got a good balance of 6.5 batters, 7 batters, and a good balance of 6 bowlers as well. So for me, I think I could see him in that playing 11. I forgot about that because he's been added to the 11 at the very end. So thanks very much for bringing that up, Raj. Any more questions, Shubs? No, that's all for us, folks. Hey, thanks very much for joining me, guys. We've got the T20 World Cup coming up. We've got the Big Bash coming up, and there's been a lot of talk about me doing some Big Bash stuff. So I'll be doing a few extra vlogs when that series comes up as well. But I'm looking forward to the T20 World Cup. Well done to CSK and KKR for getting into the final. But CSK, well done. And MS Dhoni, congratulations on 300th game and holding up that trophy. Very special occasion. Thanks, guys. Stay safe and enjoy the T20 World Cup.